Hello and welcome to No Rest for the Weekend. I'm Jason Godbey, and today we're going to be taking a look at some of the films from this year's Sundance Film Festival. But first, here's a quick word from our sponsors.
Sponsored by Black Magic Design, the world's highest quality products for the feature film, post and broadcast industries. blackmagicdesign.com, and by the Tonkawa Film Festival, celebrating short films from around the world. tonkawafilmfestival.com.
And joining me now in the studio, all the way from New Jersey, Mr. Eric McClanahan.
Good to be here. I know it looks like I just got back from Utah, but it's cold out there.
You are rocking a Utah look.
It's appropriate today. It's sleety and snowy out there.
And truth be told, it's a little chilly here in the studio. We saw some films. We didn't actually go to Utah. We have to fess up. But what were your impressions overall?
Sundance is one of my favorite festivals to cover. I know it's strange to say that because it's only my second year covering it, but covered it last year, and quality. Like if you sit down to watch a Sundance film, you're going to see something really good. What I also love is the multiculturalism. There, you get to see so many different viewpoints and perspectives, and you get to learn about different cultures. I love the immersion. Now, last year, there was kind of a theme.
It was young last year.
There was a lot of youth. Like Didi was a big award winner. Sujo in the Summers, all these young stories. This year, kind of the opposite. Not old people, but people at the end of their lives. A lot of death this year.
It was not the happiest of festivals.
No, but I learned something interesting when I was looking up the history of the festival, because I wanted to know, which edition is this? And the festival is only slightly older than me. You can look it up and get the number. I'm not telling you. But I also learned why it's called the Sundance Film Festival. Do you know why it's called Sundance?
I do not know that. I'm dying to know.
It's named after Robert Redford's character in Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid.
That's so obvious. Why didn't I know that?
I just assumed it was the name of the town or something, but yeah.
Well, it happens in Park City.
Right.
And something interesting that happened this year, too, is that Slam Dance, that has now moved to L.A.
And it's funny you mentioned that, because Sundance is in the process right now of censusing other cities to find another location. They may move to Denver is one of the possibilities. And I forget the other one, but Sundance may also move.
There'll probably be also something. It'll probably still be something in Utah because it's got such a history there. Mm-hmm. But from what I've seen, it's like one street. It's a very, very small town, and there's like all these people descend on it. And I can only imagine what it must be like to live there, and get like invaded every January.
Yeah, it's like those people who are like happy they live on the hill by the amphitheater, so they get free concerts, but then they forget that they don't like 3/4 of the artists that come to that amphitheater.
Right, and they just hear like loud bands.
And they're like, thanks again, Lizzo. So I saw 7 feature-length films and 3 shorts. And 4 of the films that I saw were documentaries. And they really stood out. The documentary category this year really knocked it out of the park. One of the first ones I saw is a film called Coexistence My Ass! ! And it is by a female director. Her name is Amber Ferris. And the film is about Noam Schuster Eliassi. Noam Schuster Eliassi is this female comedian who was raised in Israel in a place called the Oasis of Peace. It's called Nev Shalom in Hebrew, or Wahat al-Salam in Arabic. And it's a community where Israelis and Arabs live side by side in peace. And it's a model for peace. And the children are raised in a school of peace. They're raised to be peace stewards. So she's raised in this idyllic environment where everyone gets along, but she's not blind to the world outside. She sees the struggle. She sees the oppression. And she sees the conflict that's happening around her. And so right out of high school, she jumps right into the role of peacemaker, and she goes to the UN. And she's at the UN. She's addressing people. She's telling her experience to let people, to be an example, a shining light of peace. Hey, this can happen. I'm proof. I was there. And right around this time, she sees a television program where a comedian named, hold on, don't get his name wrong, Vladimir Zelensky, that name might sound familiar, has this TV program where he plays a comedian who becomes the president of the Ukraine. Then he becomes the president of the Ukraine. And she realized, well, if I want to get my message out, maybe I should do comedy. So she got into comedy. So she started doing comedy and going around and telling stories and making, but it was very political. And then as she got to different stages, she realized she had to do something more personal. So there was this one night she did a set about body hair, and she was like, that didn't feel right. That's not why I was put here. And so she veered back into politics. And so she does this political comedy. She does it all over the world. She blew up on, she did really well on television in Israel and in Arab-speaking countries because she speaks Arabic. She was raised to learn Arabic. And she said less than 1% of Israelis speak Arabic, and those that do don't use it right because they use it for oppression purposes. She endeavored to use it to promote peace. But as this film takes place over the course of her life, we get a very singular perspective of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. So it's very poignant right now. And it was very moving at times, but also very funny. So I really enjoyed it.
Is the current conflict in the movie?
Yes. It's about her finding her voice. So it's about her finding out who she is, what she should be saying, how she should sound. Like October 7th, 2023 is in the film.
Okay.
And there's footage of her like cowering in a tunnel while you can hear explosions.
She's in Israel at
yes.
the time? Oh my God.
The school that she was raised in is destroyed. And she leads the effort to help get it rebuilt and everything. There's a great line she said, because although she is Israeli, she does damn the Israeli government for their aggression against the Palestinian people. And she says, because she was raised to believe coexistence is possible, but as you know, the film is called Coexistence My Ass. She sort of saw the fallacy in that. And she said this great quote, coexistence doesn't happen between the oppressor and the oppressed. And that's her message.
Sounds like a laugh riot.
Yes, it did win the Grand Jury Prize for World Cinema Documentary.
Yeah, wow. How do you segue out of that? So I saw another documentary. We're doing documentaries off the top here. This was very different than that. The film is called Marlee Matlin, Not Alone Anymore. Now, how much did you know about Marlee Matlin?
Very little. I mean, I know her breakout roles, and I know her awards, and I know some of her humanitarian efforts. But as far as like any of her personal, don't really know.
I knew I had seen her on various films and stuff and TV. She's on that very famous episode of Seinfeld about the lip reading. And then, she won an Oscar for Children of a Lesser God. And, I was really young when that happened, so I didn't have a lot of context, but she was the first deaf actor to win a Best Actor Oscar. And apparently this was a huge deal for not just the Academy, but for like the deaf community at large. And it changed everything for her. The other thing I did not know, among many things I did not know about Marlee Matlin, is that she was only 19 years old when she made that movie. And she accepted the Oscar, she was 20. The other thing that the movie revealed that I was not aware of, that she and her co-star, William Hurt, were having they were in a relationship. And the other thing I did not know is that she had a drug and alcohol problem and that her relationship with William Hurt was not great. Apparently, he was also an alcoholic and abusive. He was 35 and she was 19. I mean, he's passed away now, so you can't really, you don't want to say anything, but he's a wonderful actor. And he got sober as a result. And she wrote a book it details that stuff. The other thing that I thought was interesting that you find out about her life is how much of a spokesperson she became for the deaf community. Apparently, the reason we have closed captioning on television is Marlee Matlin. They came up with the technology, and she's like, we have to put this everywhere. Her favorite film was The Wizard of Oz. She didn't get to know what they were saying until the 50th anniversary of the film in like 1989. So it's just a very different perspective. The other thing that was kind of like right from the rip, like first frame of the film, the most interesting thing is the opening sequence is like BTS of the film, right? The director, whose name is Shoshana Stern. She is also deaf. So she's interviewing people, and some of them are deaf. A lot of the interviews are like sign language, and you see people mouthing, but you don't hear them. They're not speaking. And then some people, like when they interview Henry Winkler, who is apparently a very close friend of Marlee Matlin's, he's got like an earpiece, and there's an interpreter in his ear. So she's signing, and he's hearing the interpreter. I've shot many, many interviews. I've worked on a lot of doc projects. My first thought was like, how do you do this? And then how do you have an interesting movie if you can't hear the participants? So it's like subtitled in sign language, and sometimes it's just silent. And when she is interviewing Matlin, they're on a couch like this, and it's like they're two girlfriends talking. I think they were friends before. The interesting thing about it, it's a really intimate kind of film, but it's from this perspective. And like we did a doc about Ghostbusters. I've done other docs. I've profiled people and so forth. I could not make this movie because I did not have the insight of what it would be like to be in that position. Shoshana Stern, the director, is also an actress. She has done the play Children of a Lesser God, and apparently that is the rite of passage role. If you're a deaf actress, when you're a young adult, you play Children of a Lesser God. It's like they interviewed another actress, and she's like, "Oh yeah, I did that too." Like they just did. The reason the film is called Not Alone Anymore is because of the movie Coda. When Troy Kotsur won Best Actor, he became the second actor to win, second deaf actor. What I also did not know is that Marlee Matlin, who's also in that movie, is the reason they cast a deaf actor in that role, because she had the authority to be like, when she heard the movie was being made, she was like, I want first dibs on the script. And then she was like, I'm not doing this movie unless you get a deaf actor to play the dad. And they did, and he was wonderful, and they interview him in the film as well. And there's all kinds of great little quirky things like that where, you don't know how much a person affects the whole industry and the whole, like, the world of all these people who are like, yeah, I'm an actor now because of her. It was terrific. It was very moving. And the other fun part is like at the end, there's another BTS sequence, and they have to hold for room tone. And which, if you don't know, room tone is when everybody's silent on the set so that the sound people can get the room tone. And they're like, like you see people are like, why are they? It's like, it's for this, like it's, it's just like, and then they're still signing while I wish I knew sign language just so I could sign during room tone.
Right.
We shoot. But it was great. It was really, and the energy, it wasn't like all gloom and doom. She had a lot of ups and downs because, for one thing, after she won the Oscar, she's a 20-year-old kid, and she got thrown into the spotlight, and now she's got to be like an advocate and an activist. She never asked for that. She's an actress, Like, apparently the deaf community got bent out of shape when the next year, how every year the actor who won the year before presents to the new actor winning, vice versa with the genders. So when she presented the award for Best Actor the following year, she signed everything until she said the names of the nominees and did not sign them. She just spoke them. And the deaf community was like, you're a traitor, kind of thing. And I was like, you can't win for losing in that situation. So it's really, really interesting to see what kind of career she's had, and the fact that people won't call someone with a disability unless it's written for them specifically. And, it's like when I interviewed Hilary Bach at Newfest, she's like every character I play, this character just happens to be deaf. It's not like they wrote a deaf character. There's real insight, and it makes you think about the way it works, the way casting works, the way, Hollywood system works. And it's like, well, we need an actor who's, a name, but, this character is deaf. So do we get Ryan Gosling to play a deaf guy, or do we actually get a deaf actor? And it's like, look, there's not enough. It's like there's plenty of good deaf actors, but this, I hope, gives some perspective to it. And, maybe the producers who went to Sundance will see it and go, oh, wait, yeah, maybe that role doesn't have to be a hearing, that kind of thing. So it's really interesting. It's like we've made progress, but How much have we really made progress?
Right. And that speaks to what I was saying earlier about Sundance and the multiculturalism. It's not just culture. It's not just nationality or ethnicity. It's disability. It is finding an audience and finding a voice for some of these underrepresented, marginalized classes. So I think it's amazing that's. Now, you said it starts with BTS and it's a lot of sign language interviews. Did they have subtitles saying what they're saying?
Yeah. So you had.
I think it would have been cooler if they didn't, so that we can understand what it is to be on the outside.
There are times where, like, at one point, Marlee Matlin's hanging out with her family, and one of her brothers, she's got a few brothers, I think, and one of them signs, but not all of them do, like, they're not fluent.
Mm-hmm.
And so they kind of show it like what it's like from her perspective.
Yeah.
Room full of people talking, and she just kind of like looking and seeing what people are doing. And then finally her brother's saying, oh, he said, this kind of, and it really it's very isolating in a way. And it was, in that perspective, was really interesting. And I'm just like, I wouldn't have done that. Another director would not have done that. It took somebody who was coming from her perspective to see that. And I really appreciate it. It was really good. It's got to get it. I don't know what the distribution plan is, but it'll be on HBO or something like that.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. No, I like the idea of leaving the hearing audience out.
Yeah.
And just giving them that
Just for
experience.
For like a minute.
Exactly.
And you get
just
it,
And I will say, for everyone right now, thank you to Marlee Matlin for the closed captioning, because I don't know a single person who watches film or television without closed captioning now.
Yeah.
We all do it. And I don't know if it's attention deficit disorder. I don't know what it is, but we all do it.
Well,
so thank her so much.
I, for one, could never watch an episode of Peaky Blinders without closed captioning. There are times when you're like, what? Anyway, we got to move on.
All right.
We're running out of time. What else
we
got?
We have 3 minutes left.
No.
Reigns Over Babel was so good. No. So the next film that I saw was my favorite movie that I saw at Sundance this year. It's called Reigns Over Babel. And
Wait. It's not Reigns Over Babel?
It's spelled Babel.
Okay.
Like the tower.
Okay.
Not babbling.
Okay.
Babel. Reigns Over Babel. And it is a Colombian film by a female director, Gala del Sol. Her vision is gorgeous. Like, I think this is going to be a director to look out for. I think she's going to be doing some amazing things. I did go to her website and found out she's already working on a film that is a continuation of one of the characters in this film's story.
Oh, okay.
So we've already got a spinoff in the works. But this film takes place at this bar called Babel, and the bartender there is El Boticario. And he's the guy who makes all the drinks, but he also collects dreams. And it opens with him and his mute girlfriend, who is speaking in a voiceover, but, not moving her lips. She's mute. But yet we can hear her. It's little things like that. It's a lot of that. It's a lot of...
Wait, what the hell is this movie about? That sounds so weird.
It's about everything. You know when you hear them say, this movie has everything, and it's just drama and dancing and singing? This movie has everything. Drama, dancing, singing, kung fu fighting, a BDSM hotel, drag queens, a talking lizard, a church. Everything is in this movie. It's exuberant, it's jubilant, it's joyous. I watched it smiling the whole time, at some points with tears in my eyes. It's about these people finding out who they are, discovering themselves, discovering their communities. It's so celebratory, and it's not for everyone. Like, a lot of people who, if you're a little uptight, you're going to be like, eh. It's not for everyone, but it should be. This movie celebrates everything it means to be human, and I loved it so much.
It sounds like one of those films you should not know a lot about before you go into it.
There's a talking lizard.
Yeah. Okay, you had me at talking lizard. All right, but should we move on? I think we should move on. That might.
Gala del Sol. Keep your eyes on that director. She's going to do amazing things, and everyone involved in this production was gorgeous and amazing. So good.
All right, I want to check it out. But it does sound like one of those things, like, you should not know too much about it before You go like I almost don't even want to see a trailer for that film. I just want to experience
I
it.
can't imagine what that would look like.
What do you put in this thing? All right, very cool. So that's a recommendation from you. This next film I saw, I didn't know too much about it when you kind of read a blurb about it kind of thing, and you don't get a lot, which I like. But it begins, the very first thing you see on screen is a quote. The film is called Atropia, and the very first thing you see on screen is this quote from Ambrose Bierce: "War is God's way of teaching Americans geography." And that's
I love Ambrose Bierce.
It sets up the entire film so well, because Atropia, it's basically it's almost like a movie set, but it's a military role-play facility, and they refer to it as the Box. Atropia is the name of the fictional country that the Box portrays. And in this film, so this takes place during the Iraq War, so it's like George W. Bush era, and they're just sending people over there like in droves. And so basically these soldiers come in who have been through boot camp, and they're about to be deployed to Iraq, and it's playing one of the towns in Iraq. And our central character is an aspiring actress played by Alya Vilf. She is desperately trying to be discovered, and she's doing this because she happens to be Iraqi, and she speaks the language, and she fits the right. Otherwise, I mean, it's a little bit ridiculous because you have like Mexicans playing Middle Eastern people and stuff. In a way, it's a comment. It's as much a comment about Hollywood as it is about war, in a way, and sort of the Hollywood portrayal of war.
Or the American military machine that we're just like, oh, we're going to teach you cultural sensitivity when you come across these people. We don't know any of these people, though, so this white person's going to act like them for you.
They do have, it's interesting because they do have a few people. One of the guys who's like an older guy, and he teaches them customs. Like if you meet the mayor of this town, this is the way you're respectful and things like that. This is what you should say to him. And at one point late in the movie, he turns to Alya Vilf and he says something to the effect of, like, I'm paraphrasing, but we're training boys to invade our homeland, like so in a way that they can be like friendlier. Like it's so bizarre, but it's so true. And part of the central story, so it's a love story in a way, because Vilf's character falls in love with this guy who's a veteran soldier who happens to be playing one of the terrorist insurgents. He's played by Callum Turner. So he's assigned to the Box after he's just on a tour, and they meet and have this really bizarre sort of love story happen to them. And I don't want to give too much away. Chloe Sevigny is in it. She plays like sort of a military official, and they're just so satirable. And at one point, we do get a fun cameo, and I'll leave the name out, but we get a very fun cameo from a movie star who's in the Box training, like doing research on how to be a soldier
for a role.
And it's really funny. It's very poignant. I mean, it really does make you think, and her character particularly, like you're seeing it from her vantage point of being somebody who's like an Iraqi American, and just like, what does this feel like? And she's like, you see her like doing an audition tape, for these things, and it's so, but it's not lampoony. Like it's not Christopher Guest, it's not like that kind of tone. It has a very realistic tone about it, and it's sometimes you're like, wait, what? And it turns out I think this is actually a real place, and this is a real thing that happens. It's in California. It's like in the California desert. All right, so the director is Haley Gates. And fantastic job. I definitely recommend it if you can find it. I don't know what the distribution is going to be like yet, but we have to remember too that just Sundance is like the starting line for film.
It's January. These are going to trickle down to all the subsequent film festivals. We saw films last January that we ended up seeing in June at Tribeca. We ended up seeing in October at Woodstock. So yeah, we're going to see these films again.
So if you missed it this time around, you'll probably be able to see it if you're a festival person. If not, I'm hoping it gets some sort of distribution, which it should.
Yeah, Sundance is an acquisition festival, and I know that some of the films have already been picked up.
But anyway, we got to wrap up. For the folks at home who want to find you find your work, where can they find you?
My name is Eric M. McClanahan. I'm on most of the socials as either Eric McClanahan or Eric M. McClanahan. Sometimes there's some periods in there, but I'm on Insta, the site formerly known as Twitter, Blue Sky, and Facebook.
All right, so that's all the time we've got for today. Thank you once again for taking this trip down the rabbit hole. For more of our content, including more Sundance content, visit norestfortheweekendpodcast.com. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app or on the YouTube, youtube.com/getbehindtherabbit. I'd like to thank my friend Eric McClanahan for stopping by the studio, and a big thanks to our sponsors, Black Magic Design and the Tonkawa Film Festival. For Behind the Rabbit Productions, I'm Jason Godbey. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.
This is the BTRP Media Network.